Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis. And joining me once again, this is episode 19, guys. I'm very proud of this, is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. What's going on, Drew? I see a little library of a collection behind you this time around.
Yeah, I've got my physical media collection behind me, and I'm actually, it's almost, it's you're putting yourself on display. You can tell a lot about a person by their media collection, and like I admittedly have a lot of bad movies behind me, a lot of good ones too, but a lot of bad ones. I don't know. I feel so exposed.
I see some good stuff in there, and you watch everything that's out there, and that's our job too. But putting our collection, you can see behind me,
right?
That is all good to me. But so I'm excited to see some really cool stuff behind you. And yeah, in this podcast, we dive into world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to latest blockbusters. And yeah, we're on episode 19. I'm super excited about that. We're gonna band together with some trolls for Thanksgiving on this episode. That's what we'll be doing, Drew.
Well, it's always a fun time to talk about movies now because at Thanksgiving, there's always a lot of movies coming out right before. So there was like 3 or 4 new releases this weekend because I admittedly couldn't even get around to all of them. Luckily, between the two of us, we've seen everything. And then there's a bunch of stuff coming out this week, in the middle of this week, right before the holidays. And then we'll have even more coming out in December. So it's so much different from a couple weeks ago where we were kind of looking for things to cover when there were a couple weeks there that were slow. I realized that 1 week that we did a bunch of streaming movies that we talked about was the weekend that Dune Part 2 was supposed to release, which is why it was kind of a dead zone there for a minute. But, we've got plenty to talk about now for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's wild. I think we talked about the Marvels last time, and since that review of the Marvels on our website, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reviews live right now. 8 movie reviews, which is wild. And we're not talking about all of them just yet. Some of them are saving for the next episode. But we're going to be talking about probably 4 movies on this episode. But before we get into all of that, we want to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find me on every social media platform along with Nerdtropolis. I'm at Sean Taj, and then Nerdtropolis is at Nerdtropolis on everything that you can think of. And don't forget nerdtropolis.com. You got to visit that every day for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you when you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms, or as it's been this past week, you can find me at the movie theater is what it feels like. I saw so many movies this week in theaters. Not complaining. It was wonderful, but I did like 4 movies in theaters in 2 days, not at a film festival, which is a lot. So
it is a lot. And that's our sign off, right? We'll see you at the movies. You're going to find us there.
No joke.
Being the hosts of the Moviegoers Society podcast. That's definitely for sure. But yeah, don't forget to go back and watch previous episodes. This is episode 19 now, and there's a lot to catch up on. A lot of movies we've talked about since we started this. And also don't forget to follow and keep up with my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, where I talk to actors and directors and everyone else in Hollywood, sitting on some good stuff. I just did an interview for the Tyler Perry documentary on Prime Video now with the filmmakers, but I have a Good Burgers interview I am hosting, I think, this week. I got some other stuff planned in the works, maybe a John Wick interview, a new John Wick interview.
Ooh, exciting.
I won't say who it's with just yet. I think I have a Percy Jackson interview coming up. Well, crossing fingers. So there's a lot I'm trying to plan. Oh, and also a Candy Cane Lane interview I'm doing tomorrow with the director of that Eddie Murphy film, which actually him and that director, Eddie Murphy and the director, did Boomerang together back in the day. So it's kind of a reunion of that. So a lot of good stuff, guys. I have to kind of push that. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I got to say that as we surpass 1,000 subscribers, and we're working hard doing this podcast and doing interviews and movie reviews, and we're having fun doing that. But there's a lot of stuff we've been watching. So I'm not going to lie. It's kind of overwhelming, Drew. What about you? How do you feel about all these movies right now, especially with the holidays around the corner? I think it's a lot. And surprisingly, I thought it was going to slow down because of the strike, which now finally ended, but things are getting pushed out quickly and a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, it's bittersweet in a way. It's like, in a way, it's the dream. Like, I want things to be able to see all the time, whether it's on streaming or whether it's in theaters. I love watching movies, but this is the first time since we've been doing this show where there's a new release that, like, I just didn't I didn't have the time. I couldn't do it. And so we'll get into it in a minute, but like I haven't seen the new Hunger Games movie that's out, which was the #1 movie at the box office. And I just haven't had time. So it's like, we have lives and things, which is good, but I feel bad. I feel like I let you down when I don't see the movies, but I did see Trolls. I did see Thanksgiving. We actually got to see Thanksgiving together. I've seen the Holdovers, seen a few different things. So we're good.
Yeah, let's talk about the Holdovers real quick. It's a great film, and I'll probably let you just talk about it because we're kind of agreeing on it. I think you liked it a little bit more than I did, but it's a really great film that takes place in the 70s. At a boarding, I guess it's considered a boarding school, I guess, so all boys school in the Massachusetts area, I believe. But I just love the setting, and it takes place around Christmas, and it's really enjoyable. Paul Giamatti is so good in this. I haven't really seen a movie of his in a long time where I was just like, he's really great in everything, but it's one of probably his best performances ever. So glued. But I know, Drew, you liked it as well.
It's Paul Giamatti reuniting with Alexander Payne, who directed Sideways, and I think his most recent film might have been Downsizing, the one with Matt Damon, and which is a movie I didn't really care for that much. The Holdovers is very good, I can say. And the thing about the Holdovers is it's going to be an awards contender. So if you want to keep up with the Oscar conversation and everything this year, this is a movie you're going to want to see because Paul Giamatti is going to be in the Best Actor race, and it's probably going to get nominated for Best Picture. We'll just see how everything starts rolling out in the next couple of months. But also, that being said, it's kind of the perfect movie to see with your family at the holidays. Like if maybe you and your family don't go to movies all the time, but around Christmas time, you want something that you can all go to together that will appeal to everyone. I'd say it's probably the one to go see that I think it'll appeal to everybody because it's a true crowd pleaser. And Paul Giamatti's performance in it is really good. So I highly recommend it. I think that everybody can get something out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot that they cover in this movie, but fair warning, it is very long. Well, it feels very long. It's not like extremely long.
It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes or so.
It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. So it does kind of stretch out a little bit, and you can feel it. That's all I would say. But the payoff is worth it, I believe, for this, especially for Paul Giamatti's performance. Which, yeah, I hope he gets something out of it because I really enjoyed it, and I would rewatch it just for that. I think it's something that you could rewatch because of his performance. Without it, I think it would be a hard rewatch. But he is so good in that.
And Divine Joy Randolph is in this too in a supporting role, and she's getting a lot of awards buzz, and she's very good in it. She's like the head cook, I guess, at the school, and who's recently suffered some trauma involving her son, and so and she's very good in it in a pretty, I wouldn't describe it as subtle, but like it's really good. A good role, emotional role. I'll put it that way. There's the young boy who's kind of the lead of the younger people in it. His name is Dominic Sessa, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he's good. I'd say he's fine. I think at time it's his first big movie. There's a few times where he's maybe kind of overacting.
It's his first film ever. He was just doing some plays at school, and then they picked him at, I think it was between him and actually not that he's not legitimate, but like a legitimate actor that has been doing movies. Is between him and this newcomer, and him as a newcomer, he won. So pretty impressive. And yeah, I think the trio is really great, and there's some other characters and actors in there that are pretty good in that. So it takes place during Christmas, and it's snowing, and they said that was real snow. So everything you're really seeing there, the sets are not sets. They're real locations, real buildings, real rooms. They maybe added elements of decor and just time appropriate pieces. But just hearing that, it's like a time capsule movie. It's pretty good.
And we have to mention, just because you and I texted about this and messaged about it, in the movie, Paul Giamatti's character has a like it's either like a lazy eye or a glass eye or whatever.
He's got a googly eye. We call it googly eyes.
Yeah, he and the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, "Is that real?" It looked so real, and I was like, "Does Paul Giamatti have a lazy eye?" And I just didn't, and I haven't realized it. And this is the first time I'm really noticing it in this film. And no, we can confirm he doesn't. It's a bit of movie magic, but it's like one of the better makeup character effects I've seen in a while, where it wasn't distracting necessarily, but I just couldn't help but be like, is that real or not? And so I guess if you go see the Holdovers, comment on our YouTube, leave a comment or something to let us know if you felt the same way. It's just I have to talk about it because that was one of my big takeaways from the movie. Probably not what they meant to be a takeaway, but it is what it is.
I think it was. I'm just thinking about it. It's so funny. But yeah, this weekend, over the weekend, the Hunger Games prequel opened up, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snake. Yeah, prequel to the films that were starring Jennifer Lawrence, and it takes place 65 years prior to the introduction of Katniss and her rebellion, and explores the early life of President Snow, played by Tom Blythe. Like Drew, unfortunately, you didn't get to see it, but Tom Blythe is really great in this role, as he mentors Lucy Gray Baird, played by Rachel Zegler, who sings a lot in this movie, and she has a great voice. But I told you before, it's hit or miss with me with Rachel Zegler. I know a lot of people praise her performance, and it was really good. It's just I'm not, I guess, all in with her just yet because she's still very new. So I'm trying to get used to her acting and used to how she is. And and Shazam, not really a memorable performance. And I did like her. It's Into the Heights. I did enjoy that movie a lot, but there's a lot of awesome performances.
You mean
in that.
West Side Story?
Is it West Side Story? It is West Side Story. I was thinking of the wrong. Yeah, not
both are big musicals that came out within around the same year.
West Side Story. Thank you for that. I don't watch many musicals. That's the thing. So they all kind of blend in together. It was West Side Story, which was actually really well done in that, and that was really like all I've seen her, and that's all she's been in. Three.
Yeah, she's new. I think she was discovered for West Side Story, and that was like her first, on screen role, and I think she's really brilliant in it. I kind of agree with Shazam 2, although I do think she's a highlight of that movie, like in a pretty not good movie, even though it's not necessarily a memorable part. I thought she was kind of like a shining light in that movie. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in seeing the new Hunger Games, which I haven't gotten to see yet. Because I'm interested to see her performance and how it translates to more blockbusters. I mean, the Hunger Games is a big franchise. There's big shoes to fill in the wake of Jennifer Lawrence's 4 movies that she was in previously. And I know this is a prequel, but yeah, I'm interested. It is based on the book, which I was a big, when around the time the first Hunger Games movie came out, I had read the first book. I was so in on it. And then, I liked Catching Fire and then the Mockingjay movies less so. And I didn't necessarily think much of the marketing for this film, but I'm happy to see that the reviews seem to be pretty positive in general. So that does make me intrigued. I'm excited to see Rachel Zegler. She's supposed to be Snow White in the live action Snow White movie that's gotten delayed to 2025, so we won't be seeing that for a long time.
Yeah, that's a mess of itself. Snow White movie, what's going on? But this movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snake, I watched in IMAX. Really looks great in IMAX. I really loved it. But warning, guys, it's 2 hours and 38 minutes long without trailers and anything else.
Big part of the reason why I couldn't see it this weekend, because I needed 3 hours and I couldn't do it.
It's a movie I thought should have been broken up into 2 films, but they interviewed the director and he said, the last time I did that, I regret it for Hunger Games when they did it. Which one was part 1 and part 2? I don't know the titles.
It was Mockingjay was 2 parts. Yeah. He
regrets doing that. And he's like, with this one we're doing, but I feel like this was the one you do into 2 parts, especially I believe this is the last book that's been put out. There's no other books just yet. So it's gonna be a while until you get another Hunger Games. They could have milked this, to be honest, as a 2-part film, and another book could have been written by then to continue the story. Because actually, it is a really good story of President Snow as a very young man, played by Tom Blythe brilliantly. I loved it. Jason Schwartzman steals this movie for me. He is great. You got Peter Dinklage and Viola Davis. They're all great. Those are probably the 3 main stars that I really loved. And I think without them, I wouldn't have enjoyed this film, to be honest. But they did a really great job. But the Hunger Games itself is really fun. I didn't like the stuff outside of it, but I always enjoy watching the Hunger Games actually in the movie. And it's pretty fun.
I feel like that's kind of what happened with those other movies too, is like when you're actually in the Hunger Games is when the movie's fun, and Mockingjay itself kind of diverts away from the actual Hunger Games premise, whereas the games themselves in the first and second movie are what make those movies good and intriguing.
Yeah, and that's the problem I had with this one, especially with such a long runtime. We get taken other places, and I'm just like, no, thank you. It is a love story and other type of story as well. I won't divulge in that because it might be spoilers, but um, yeah. So that one I think I gave maybe for me a 3 out of 5. I know a lot of people liked it more than I did, but I'm not the fan of the books. I haven't read the books, so I know a lot of people that were there had the book in their hand and they were having a great time. So I know if you're a fan of the Hunger Games books, you're gonna love this one. But as a moviegoer at 2 hours and 38 minutes, I just couldn't sit through it. But I think there's another movie that I kind of felt similar. I'm not sure how you felt, but let's move on to Trolls Band Together. And you went with your little one, right?
I did. We went to a Saturday morning, matinee showing, and first off, I'll just say I got there on time. It was like a 10:15 a.m. movie, and at the Cinemark that we went to, there was legitimately 30 minutes starting at 10:15, like 30 minutes of pre-roll and trailers. So the movie itself didn't even start till closer to 10:45. So that was brutal. And I was like, oh no, are we going to make it through this? Because my daughter was getting kind of restless. That being said, when the movie started, I was kind of having trouble getting into it. I mean, it's the third Trolls movie, right? Like I've seen the first two. I know exactly what I'm going to get.
So you did. I didn't. This is my very first Trolls movie.
Okay. Were you well, I guess there's not really anything that you need to catch up on necessarily.
No, there's nothing to catch up on, but yeah, definitely my first Trolls movie, but we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, and at the beginning I was like, oh no, are we going to make it through this? Is kind of how I felt. But my daughter did great. She was into it the whole time, and it's fine. It's not really worth like a deep critical analysis. It's the third Trolls movie. In the marketing, they've been doing a lot to show that there's a new song by NSYNC in the movie. And I did think the song kind of slapped. Like it was all right. This song was good, but this is very much a Branch story, which is Justin Timberlake's character, whereas the past two were a little bit more Princess Poppy, which is Anna Kendrick's character. They're more Poppy stories. This is more of a Branch story.
But I gotta say, they threw in a story, like a plot point that was just so big, and they played it off so small. And I don't want to get into spoilers of Poppy and who she runs into.
Yes,
they just throw that in there, which they really didn't need to. That could have been saved for another movie. And I'm like, I said, I haven't seen a Trolls movie, so I can follow a little bit. And I'm just like, this is a big plot point, and it's just gonna be brushed over. It felt like, and they did. And I'm like, kind of weird that they did that. But I enjoyed it when it was song and dance. I loved everything that it did when it came to song and dance. Like I said, first Trolls movie, I love the visuals. I was like, this is really cool, really well done animation, super colorful, really looks great. I love the world they built. When it comes to the voice acting, nothing wrong with it, but I really couldn't recognize anyone's voices. Even Anna Kendrick, she has a very prominent voice, but like, it really didn't stand out to me per se compared to, really how she sounds. And Justin Timberlake, I felt like it wasn't even, I know what he sounds like, but it sounded less like him in this one a little bit. I'm not sure of why that was.
I'm actually right there with you. Like once I was watching the credits, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like I knew some of the ones from previous movies, like Kenan Thompson plays Tiny Diamond, who's like the small little shiny troll. But some of the new characters, especially that were introduced, I was like, who is that? Because like there's one that's voiced by Camila Cabello I just saw, and Amy Schumer's in it, and Andrew Rannells are kind of like the villains, and then Eric Andre is one of Branch's brothers, part of the boy band. And so like, there's recognizable names in it, but yeah, it's not the same. It's not like when you're watching it, you're like, oh, that's so-and-so. A lot of them I was trying to guess until the end credits actually came up.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great names, but I couldn't recognize any of them. And the humor, there's humor in it that's okay. I thought that could have been better. I thought it's cheap humor, as in like, they could have really done a better job. I think the plot was poorly written a little bit, and then so was some of the jokes for the adults to also enjoy it as well. But the music that they created and the mixing, just the soundtrack itself and how they transitioned to have like 5 songs in one, pretty much. It sounds like a brand new song when they do all these mashups, which is awesome. And I really love that. But when it wasn't the song and dance and there was the actual story, I thought it was boring. The plot was kind of predictable, and the NSYNC thing, don't want to spoil anything, but don't expect like the NSYNC trolls to be around the whole time or anything like that.
Right.
Like, it's not that prominent, to be honest. Which is weird because this movie was filmed or created like at least over a year ago, and they just announced the NSYNC song and stuff like that. So it's like, how long was NSYNC holding on to this reunion tour and this new song? It could have been. Curious if they knew about it for a whole year and they were sitting on it for this movie pretty much close to the release to come back, and it's kind of odd timing.
It is kind of weird, this franchise, just to, like, not to get into the nitty gritty too much, but first off, I'll say I'm kind of with you about the plot and everything. Like, I'm an adult that likes animated movies and usually can find something to like. That being said, of the 3 Trolls movies, this is the worst one. Like that, there's no really ifs, ands, or buts about it to me. And this franchise is interesting because the first one came out and was kind of like a huge hit out of nowhere. And it was huge on streaming because it was on Netflix after the fact. And like, parents with kids, they'd watch that movie on repeat. Like, I have a friend whose daughter was born around that time, and it was like Moana and Trolls nonstop all day. So like it, was a big movie. So when Trolls World Tour, the second one, was coming out, it seemed like that movie was on track to be huge. And then the pandemic happened, and it had the whole thing where it went straight to VOD and theaters at the same time. And it kind of like, the weird thing in the history of movies and theater going, like Trolls World Tour is kind of the movie that broke the theater model there for a bit during the pandemic, and has resulted in some movies going straight to VOD and theaters at the same time, which is kind of interesting to think about. So that being said, now there's a third Trolls movie, and like it came in second at the box office. It was behind the new Hunger Games movie, and it just doesn't seem like parents or kids are that excited about it as maybe they would have been 5 years ago. So it's just, it's an interesting thing, the Trolls franchise, which like I said, not to get too much in the nitty gritty, which I kind of did anyway, but you know what I mean.
No, I got you. And I gave this movie a 3 out of 5. For me, it wasn't that great when it wasn't the song and dance, but I will tell you, the whole theater was filled with kids and they were so engaged. I actually took my friends and their kids along with us. So we had a family of 4 with 2 little ones, and one of them, it was their first time in a movie ever. And so and they did a great job. They loved it. They were dancing and, they loved all the music in it. So they were so engaged, the children in there. So your kids are going to love this movie. It will keep their attention. And it seems like even when it gets boring, it seems like they're still engaged because of how great the animation is, to my surprise.
Yeah, my theater was not that full, but there were some other kids in there. And like I said, at the end of the day, for parents, like my daughter sat through it. So if you are looking for something to do with your kids over the week, if you're off work or they're out of school and you want a kids movie to go see, like it's it's fine. But yeah, just don't expect like a Pixar masterpiece or something of the sort. It's the third Trolls movie. I feel like that says it all.
And we'll see if we get another one. And speaking of taking your kids to a movie, don't take your kids to this next movie. I will tell you, even though it's called
Definitely
Thanksgiving, even though the movie's called Thanksgiving, this is not a family movie. That is a movie that Drew and I got to watch together. If you don't know about what Thanksgiving is, other than the holiday and everything else, it is a slasher film, a hard R slasher film directed by Eli Roth. And back in the day when there was the Grindhouse double feature with Bulletproof and what is the other one?
Machete was one of them.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was a faux trailer. Grindhouse consisted of I don't know why my head is going blank. I've been consuming so much stuff.
The Grindhouse movies?
No, the Grindhouse double feature was Planet Terror.
Planet Terror and oh gosh, what's the other one called? The Kurt Russell one.
And Death Proof. Yeah, sorry.
Death Proof, thank you.
Death Proof. And then we had I think a Machete trailer in there, and then Machete became a movie. And so Thanksgiving was a faux trailer by Eli Roth in there. And it was awesome because I think if I remember, it was just like Thanksgiving. And they said like a million times and showed this like slasher trailer, which was awesome. And finally, since that trailer appeared in 2007, Eli Roth has made it a feature film, which I was excited about because it's a great premise, a slasher film during Thanksgiving.
And it even not, like I won't spoil the movie by any means, but like the movie opens with kind of a first person point of view camera shot, and I thought it was going to open to like an homage to Halloween, which makes sense. You have Halloween and now you have Thanksgiving, and start with this like kind of first person point of view sequence. It devolves from that quickly, and they actually have some clever spins on things we associate with the Thanksgiving holiday that I thought were done pretty well.
We could say, Thanksgiving and Black Friday, it's combined. So
Black Friday is like Black Friday is the instigator for this whole movie and what they're doing here.
It's brilliant. I loved it. Super creative. That Eli Roth has been sitting on this obviously for a long time, so I know he was excited to finally get this out. People have been enjoying it. I loved all the kills were super interesting, especially when you do Thanksgiving style kills. Just use your imagination, guys, of what could be a Thanksgiving style kill. And as there's a lot of kills in this and a lot of other stuff happening. It's a funny film, guys. Like, it's a slasher film that really doesn't take itself seriously, but presents a serious film. So that's what I loved about it. Very good job, not making it cheap, nothing corny about it either. Like, it plays as a legit slasher film that takes place over Thanksgiving, but you can't help but laugh at what's really happening in front of you, because a lot of it does feel real when it comes to Black Friday and just the way things roll out. And it keeps you guessing too, really well.
Yeah, I kind of had that. It felt really morbid during the Black Friday stuff because we're laughing, and it's like, but this has really happened before in a sense. Maybe not on the same scale as what's in the movie, but like there have been people that have been severely hurt or even killed because of Black Friday crowds and trampling and things, and which is not funny. But they do use it as a plot point here that I think it works for the movie. And I will also say, do yourself a favor if you're like me and maybe you haven't seen Grindhouse in 15 or 16 years since it came out. Do yourself a favor, go on YouTube. That Thanksgiving original trailer that was in Grindhouse is on YouTube. Find it, watch it, because I watched it right before and I'm glad I did, because some of the kills that are in there, they are replicated for the big screen, for the feature length movie, and the way they integrate some of them into the plot is funny and well done. But yeah, some of the kills in this movie are pretty gory and not for the faint of heart, but it's like Eli Roth getting back to those gory roots, and I love to see it. I had a good time in this, and I feel like our theater was pretty into it and laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, it felt like old school Eli Roth. I haven't seen all his films, but I loved his Hostel films. I mean, the first one's obviously the best one, and he knows how to do gruesome kills. Like, he does it really well, and nothing's cheap about the way he does them at all. And great cast. No one really big in there other than McDreamy himself, Patrick Dempsey, and you also got a couple of Disney stars in there that are doing really good. And I love like the characters. Like, really, no one's annoying in here. No one's I think everyone's just casted so well, and everyone's chemistry is really like solid. It's really great, and so I enjoyed seeing like not fresh faces, but faces you really don't get to see often. And hopefully he has a franchise in front of him and does maybe more to holidays or something, does something with this, because Eli Roth needs to stick to this genre and it's a mainstream movie done really well.
Yeah, I feel like even the characters that maybe would come across as like, quote, annoying, it's kind of by design, because a lot of them are like purposefully stereotyping horror movie cliches. And so it comes across funny and not necessarily aggravating.
Yeah, this is easily probably one of the best slasher films I've seen in the past probably several years. Easily like top 5.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was just like good slasher fun.
We don't get many of them, to be honest, if they're not a big franchise or some other stuff like you've mentioned, like is it Happy Death Day, and what's this body switch one called?
Freaky.
Just Freaky. Mm-hmm. So you get that stuff, but like
this fits in well alongside those. Like, yeah, your Freaky, Happy Death Day, Totally Killer, any of those, like it fits in well along those. Maybe more, it's a bit more gory than some of those.
This one's got more Scream vibes for me. And that's where I liked about it, especially, with the casting and stuff like that. And young cast that's up and coming too. So that's really great. And I gave this I praised it pretty well. I gave it 4 out of 5. I gave it like a pretty high score, I think, for what it is, but a lot of fun and something you don't watch for Thanksgiving, but I definitely recommend if you want something wild.
Yeah, I agree. I also recommend it. This, well, yeah, if I was going to say of the movies we've talked about, is it my favorite? But The Holdovers is probably going to trump it for me. But, if it's between Trolls World Tour again or Thanksgiving again, I'm going to see Thanksgiving again, given the choice.
And that's how fun it is. And that just means just how kind of a unique gem it is in a world where a lot of movies are getting pushed out and the quality is not great and expectations are high. And we obviously went in this with expectations low. I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, this is a really well done slasher film. That's simple as that, guys. So if that's what you like, this is something to watch. And
I'm going to end up getting punished for saying I wouldn't rewatch the third Trolls movie, because when it inevitably comes to Peacock or whatever in like a month or two, guarantee it's going to be on repeat in my home and I'm going to be eating those words. So I'll probably see it many more times.
Well, that's okay though, because the music's actually really good. So if it's in the background and you're just hearing the music side of it, the music is really well. But there's a lot more coming out, Drew. And that means like our next episode, we have to figure out what we're going to talk about. We got a lot of reviews on nerdtropolis.com, and then we're going to have more coming out that we'll be doing as well. I'm just looking at what's on our site that we haven't talked about, which we will. We didn't talk about Next Goal Wins. Go check out that review. I'm not sure we're going to end up talking about it, but I probably will be doing some movie ticket giveaways for Next Goal Wins that they sent me. So stay tuned on our socials for that. We'll talk about Napoleon next. Drew will probably touch base on that. Dream Scenario. I want to hear more from Drew about this one. I got to attend a virtual press conference with Nicolas Cage. It was pretty awesome to kind of hear his thoughts. I mean, I can just listen to him for days and days. Wish movie from Disney. I have that review up, but we'll probably be talking about that one next, which is the animated film from Disney, Wish, which is great. And Leo, which is an Adam Sandler animated film, coming to Netflix. I thought it was supposed to be out over the weekend, but apparently it's coming out Tuesday. And I attended the press conference. I got to ask a question. A question was asked on my behalf to Adam Sandler and the crew, and they answered it, which was awesome.
That's exciting.
It really was. Big Adam Sandler fan and big fan of this movie, Leo, as well. We'll get into it. So, yeah, Drew, if you get a chance, whenever Leo hits, I think you're going to love it. I think your daughter's going to love it, and your wife's. I think the whole family is going to love it. Everyone is going to get something out of Leo, and it's an animated film, and it's great and it's funny, but there's more to it. I know I'm jumping into a review right now, but I want to sell it to people because by the time you listen to this movie probably will be out, and it's a great family film as well.
I'm excited for that because, we're for sure my family's going to go see Wish this week because my daughter wants to see that one too. So we'll see Wish for sure. Luckily, I've already gotten to see Napoleon and Dream Scenario, so we'll talk about those. And then, so it sounds like my homework for the week, if you can call it that, because it's not like, homework's got a negative connotation, but I'll watch Leo and hopefully I'll catch up on the Hunger Games and maybe I'll give like a couple quick thoughts on it next week when we get to talk about it. But and if you get a chance on Paramount Plus, you should watch Good Burger 2. Oh yeah, I'll check out Good Burger 2. And I also, speaking of Paramount Plus, I saw that movie we talked about a few weeks ago, Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie is on Paramount Plus now. So that's going to be playing in my house as well. So I'll probably see that many more times over the next week.
I'm not gonna lie, I had that on in the background the other day. But I watched a little bit of it, and to be honest, I'll say real quick, I think I like the first one more. It's just a little different. This one is definitely much more super. They definitely go the Avengers route, which is not bad. But the first one, it was my first time watching Paw Patrol, and I loved it. But maybe I should pay attention next time I'm watching to see if I really enjoy it. But if you haven't yet, do check out our previous episodes of the Moviegoers Society and check out my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, where I interview directors and actors. I have a lot of fun stuff, guys. I have to make sure I tell you that. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and just keep track of what we're dropping on there, all on the Nerdtropolis Podcast Network. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms. You can find me weekly over at Fresh Out the Podcast. Or as I said, you can catch me at the movie theater. I'm definitely going to be there a few more times in the next week or so.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society. Once again, I am Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis. And like Drew says, you will see us at the movies.